Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. And may I say at the outset, my sole contribution to the committee's report was to join the committee in time to get my name on the report with the photograph. My contribution to the report otherwise is entirely nil. So I thank all those who preceded me on the committee for the hard work they've done. And by the way, you did miss a typo at paragraph 50, which has been cut and pasted into the executive summary. But let's not worry too much about that. So Donald Cameron doesn't need to worry too much about his late arrival at this. I came to it much later. I want, as an asthmatic, to focus on the health issues for people who have issues with their lungs of one sort or another. I particularly welcome the focus on diesel cars as contributors to poor air quality. I myself now have a petrol car after many years of having diesel cars. I admit that was done for reasons quite separate from pollution, but at least it means I'm slightly ahead of the game. Now, the Cleaner Air for Scotland, the Road to a Healthy Future report from the government, is now about halfway through its 5-year period. It was published in November 2015. And like others, I want to focus on the particulate matter 2.5. 2.5 micrometers across the particles concerned. Now, that's such a small particle that you cannot see it down a microscope. You need an electron microscope to actually see it. But it is something that, because of its small size, has a disproportionate effect. In the government's paper on the subject, they highlight that the Scottish objectives in relation to PM 2.5 are basically similar to the WHO guidelines, and that's very welcome. But I will refer to where WHO are going with this, because they're becoming more aware through the research they're coordinating and reporting on of the impacts of PM 2.5. Now, it's perhaps not too surprising. These are tiny, tiny particles. And the smaller a particle is, the greater is the ratio between the surface area and the contents. In other words, there's a lot of surface area and not much content. And what that means is it's much more likely to stick to human flesh, particularly in the lungs, and being a small particle, it will go right down to the bottom of the lungs, to the bronchial tubes and beyond, and therefore is much less likely to be expelled than larger particles. And that's certainly part of why the PM 2.5 particles are so important. Now, the World Health Organization review of evidence on health aspects of air pollution, which is a technical report, is a very meaty document with well over 300 pages. And there's a lot of very interesting things going right the way back. And they refer to research right across Europe, in Canada, in North America, on the effects of the PM 2.5. Systematic review reported significant associations between exposure to PM 2.5 birth outcomes, including low birth weight, preterm births, small for gestational ed births, besides anything that is directly associated with lungs. But even now, in more recent studies, the research has been done that shows to be exposed to these very small particles, even for a single hour, 1 hour, has measurable effects on lung function in a way that is associated with mortality and morbidity. The evidence for larger particles is not so clear, but it's a very serious issue indeed that we need to be very careful about. Even healthy people are affected, and people who've already got cardiac or lung issues are affected disproportionately, even worse. Presiding Officer, there is also one area of limited research, and that is the interaction between electrostatic charge and very small particles. The WHO report gives 8 areas that are requiring further research. Presiding officer, rural areas are better. When my wife puts the washing out in Bambshire, it smells beautiful and there's no smuts. If it's out in West Lothian, it comes in black and smelly. Live in the country, live longer.